So picture this. You are at a lively dinner party.
Oh, I love a good dinner party.
Right. The food is great, the atmosphere is incredibly relaxed, and, the conversation is just flowing perfectly.
Sounds ideal.
It is. Until someone turns to you, smiles, and asks a very simple question. They just say, "So what kind of music do you like?"
Oh, no. I can feel the anxiety all emerge.
Exactly. Suddenly your mind just goes completely blank. I mean, you know the answer in your native language perfectly well.
Of course you do. You have favorite bands, favorite genres, maybe even a favorite concert you went to last year.
Yeah, but the English words, they simply vanish. You just freeze.
It's the worst feeling.
It really is. So today's deep dive explores the psychology behind that exact blank mind feeling.
Because it happens to absolutely everyone learning a language.
It does. We are looking at the research, the linguistics, and most importantly, the practical tools you need to master how to talk about your likes, your dislikes, and your everyday preferences.
And doing it without ever sounding like you were reading from some rigid grammar textbook.
Yes, exactly, because that blank mind scenario, it's just universally understood by anyone who has ever studied a second language.
Yeah, and the fascinating thing we found in the linguistics papers we reviewed for today's discussion is that this freeze response,
Yeah?
it's not actually a vocabulary problem.
Wait, really? Because I feel like every learner instantly blames their vocabulary. They think, I don't know enough words.
Oh, absolutely, they blame their vocabulary. But it's actually a cognitive overload problem.
Cognitive overload. Okay, break that down for us.
So when that person asks what music you like, your brain suddenly tries to do like 5 things at once.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You are trying to translate the concept, you're trying to remember the English vocabulary, apply the correct grammatical structure, monitor your pronunciation, and read the social cues of the person asking the question, all at the exact same time.
Which is essentially an impossible task for your working memory to handle in real time.
Exactly.
It is like opening 50 tabs on a web browser all at once. The system just crashes.
That is the perfect analogy. The system literally crashes.
And I think a lot of learners punish themselves in that moment, right?
Oh, they beat themselves up constantly over it.
Yeah, they think, my vocabulary is too small, I'm failing. But the research points to something called chunking as the actual solution, doesn't it?
It does. Chunking is everything. We need to treat this deep dive not just as an exploration of English rules, but, as a look into how the brain actually retrieves language under pressure.
Right, because in cognitive psychology and linguistics, specifically looking at Michael Lewis's lexical approach fluency, doesn't come from knowing individual words, does it?
No, not at all. And it doesn't come from just knowing the rules of grammar so you can stick single words together like Lego blocks.
So where does it come from?
Fluency comes from storing pre-built chunks of language.
Chunks.
Yeah, think of a chunk as a prefabricated phrase. Native speakers do not build sentences word by word.
They just grab the whole phrase off the shelf.
Exactly. When someone asks what they like, they aren't thinking, okay, subject pronoun I plus present tense verb like plus plural noun.
Right. Nobody thinks like that in casual conversation.
No one. They just deploy the chunk I'm really into as a single automatic unit of thought.
So the panic happens because the learner lacks those pre-built units.
Precisely. They are essentially trying to invent the language from scratch right there in the middle of a dinner party.
Which is exhausting.
Right.
But let me push back a little here, or at least explore the emotional side of this.
Sure.
Is it just a mechanical memory issue? Or is it possible that learners freeze because they think they need, perfect, complex academic grammar before they're even allowed to speak?
Oh, that is a huge part of it. The stakes feel artificially high to them.
Yeah, exactly.
It is deeply tied to what linguists call the affective filter.
Okay.
It's a concept introduced by Stephen Krashen.
The affective filter, meaning, your emotions filtering your ability.
Exactly. When we feel anxious or fear making a mistake, an emotional block literally prevents the brain from accessing the language it already knows.
Wow, so you physically can't access the words.
Right. You are translating directly from your native language, which has its own unique structure, and you're trying to force those exact nuances into English.
And because you lack the natural English chunks, you hesitate.
You hesitate, your affective filter goes up, your cortisol spikes, and the prefrontal cortex, where you are storing this new language, basically just shuts its doors.
That is terrifying, but also so validating to hear. So the first takeaway from the research is really a very clear confidence reminder, right?
It is. And if you're listening to this, I want you to really hear this. You do not need to sound perfect to say this well.
Yes, you do not need to sound perfect.
You just need to have a few reliable chumps ready to deploy. That's
I
it.
don't want to highlight that again. You do
No.
not need perfect grammar. You need reliable chunks. So let's start building those chunks right now.
Let's do it.
A highly effective phrase to use when you are trying to distill a complex idea into something manageable is the simple way to think about it is.
Oh, I love that one. That is a highly functional pragmatic marker.
Right. So if we use it right now, the simple way to think about it is this. Sharing your preferences is simply sharing a map of who you are.
Exactly. When someone asks what you like, they aren't giving you an English proficiency exam.
Though it feels like it sometimes.
It does, but they really aren't. They're just trying to connect with you on a human level.
And to draw that map for them, you only need a fundamental set of tools.
Yes. So let's examine those fundamental tools.
Okay, the absolute foundation of this whole thing is I like and I don't like.
Sounds rudimentary, I know.
Okay.
Almost too simple for an advanced learner.
Yeah, it feels basic.
It does. But it is structurally essential.
Yeah.
Let's look at how this works mechanically based on our notes.
Okay, so you start with the subject and verb, I like or I don't like.
Right.
And then you must attach either a noun like pizza, jazz music, or cold weather, or an ing verb.
Right. Which is known as a gerund, like watching movies or waking up early.
And we should probably explain why it works that way, right? Why does English force you to use that ing ending when you attach a verb to like?
That's a great question. It is because like is a verb that describes an attitude toward a concept or a thing.
Okay.
So by adding ing to an action, you are undergoing a process called nominalization.
Nominalization, meaning making it a noun.
Exactly. You're turning the action of waking up into a solid concept, a thing that can actually be liked or disliked.
Okay, I have an analogy for this. Think of your English vocabulary like apps on a smartphone.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Basic phrases like I like and I don't like are the operating system. They run constantly in the background with almost zero battery drain.
Yes.
They aren't flashy, right? But the phone cannot function without them. Then you have phrases like I am absolutely fascinated by, which are your high processing apps.
The ones that drain your battery.
Exactly. You only open those when you really want to dedicate energy and vibrant color to a specific topic. There is absolutely no shame in relying on the operating system if it keeps the conversation running smoothly.
That analogy perfectly captures cognitive load. If you use the low battery operating system, you have more mental energy left to actually listen to the other person.
Which is the whole point of a conversation.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, these foundational phrases are most heavily used when we talk about our daily routines and habits.
Let's look at a practical application of that. Imagine a learner who is trying to translate a very sophisticated thought from their native language.
Okay.
They might end up saying something like, I experience negative emotions during the morning hours.
Oh, wow. Yeah, which is grammatically flawless, actually.
It is, but it sounds like a clinical diagnosis. It totally lacks the natural rhythm of human speech.
It really does. It is accurate, but it violates the pragmatic norms of casual conversation.
So how would a native speaker say it?
In natural spoken English, you would bypass the complex translation entirely and just grab the pre-built chunk.
Yeah.
You would simply say, I don't like waking up early. I'm not a morning person.
I'm not a morning person. That is an idiomatic chunk that conveys so much cultural information instantly.
It really does.
It essentially says, don't expect me to be cheerful before coffee, all packed into 6 words.
Exactly. Let's look at a few other daily habits through this lens. Someone might say, I don't like doing laundry.
Or, I don't like waiting in lines.
Notice the grammatical consistency there. I don't like waiting.
Verb plus ing. That's nominalization in action.
And you can expand this slightly to add reasoning, can't you?
Yeah.
Which builds conversational bridges.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I like commuting on the train because I can read.
Oh, I see. You have the base chunk, the gerund, and then the justification.
Because I can read. It invites the other person to respond.
Okay, we want to make sure this deep dive isn't just theory. We want you, the listener, to actively build your mental muscle memory.
Yes, practice is key. So wherever you are listening right now, whether you are commuting, walking, or just sitting at a desk, we want you to pause for a second. We are actually going to give you a moment of silence.
You ready to speak?
Say out loud one daily routine you like and one daily routine you don't like using that simple noun or ing pattern.
Take your time. Form the sentence in your mouth right now. I like and I don't like.
Awesome. Now that we have the operating system running smoothly, let's open some of those high processing apps.
Let's drain some battery.
Yeah, we are moving beyond just like to amplify the positive emotions because Frankly, sometimes the word like is semantically too weak.
It definitely can be.
Right. If you are talking about your deepest passions, your long-term hobbies, or the work you have dedicated your life to, you need vocabulary with more gravity.
You do. Words like love, enjoy, fond of, and crazy about.
Let's break those down.
Well, these words carry what linguists call higher affective intensity. Love is the most common upgrade for a strong positive emotion.
But wait, doesn't love just mean, romance?
It used to be much more restricted. But it's important to note that in modern English, love has undergone a bit of semantic broadening.
Semantic broadening, so it applies to more things now.
Exactly. You don't just use it for romantic partners or family anymore. You use it for hobbies and inanimate objects to show high passion.
Like, I love playing the guitar.
Or I love traveling. It's incredibly common.
Okay, then we have enjoy, which feels a bit more focused on the immediate pleasure of an experience.
Good.
But this actually brings up a grammatical trap I saw highlighted in our source material.
Oh, the enjoy trap. Yes.
A lot of learners treat the word enjoy as a direct one-to-one synonym for the word like. But the mechanics behind enjoy are remarkably rigid, aren't they?
Highly rigid. Enjoy has a very strict grammatical environment in English.
Why is that?
Because enjoy describes the ongoing, continuous pleasure of an experience. It has what we call an imperfective aspect.
Okay, imperfective aspect. What does that mean for the speaker?
It means that because it focuses on the duration of an event, it absolutely must be followed by an ing verb, like, I enjoy reading.
Okay, so it has to be the ing verb.
Or a noun that represents an event or a specific state, like I enjoy my job or I enjoy the weekend.
So just to clarify the boundaries here, if I say I enjoy books, am I breaking that rule? Books are nouns, but they aren't exactly events.
Exactly. Books is a static general noun. Saying I enjoy books sounds slightly jarring to a native ear because you cannot derive continuous pleasure from the mere existence of a physical object sitting on a shelf.
Oh, that makes so much sense. You need the action.
Yes. You know, to say, I enjoy reading books, or I enjoy collecting books.
Right, and crucially, you absolutely cannot use the infinitive, right?
Never. You cannot say, I enjoy to read.
Even though you can say, I like to read.
Right. The infinitive to read treats the action as a whole completed idea. And that clashes with the continuous ongoing nature of the word enjoy.
Wow, that distinction explains the why behind the rule so clearly. You aren't enjoying the abstract concept. You are enjoying the active process.
Exactly.
Let's look at another phrase from the notes. Fond of. I tend to associate this with British English or perhaps literary contexts. It feels very cozy.
It does feel cozy. And the etymology of fond is actually quite revealing.
Oh, I love word history. What is it?
In Middle English, the word fond actually meant foolish or infatuated.
Really? Foolish?
Yeah. Over centuries, the meaning softened from foolishly obsessed to having a warm, lingering, almost irrational attachment to something.
So it's not super intense anymore.
Right. I'm fond of classical music. I'm fond of early morning walks. It implies a quiet, enduring appreciation rather than a loud burst of excitement.
I really like that. And if we do want that loud burst of excitement, we go to the complete opposite side of the energy scale, right?
Yes, to crazy about high energy, high enthusiasm.
Let's do a quick role play to demonstrate how a learner might try to use this and how we can refine it.
Sounds good.
I am going to play the role of an enthusiastic learner who wants to express a deep passion for a sport.
Go for it.
Okay, I might say, I am crazy for the basketball.
Okay, the intention's perfectly clear there, but the syntax is slightly off.
What's wrong with it?
The preposition for doesn't collocate naturally with crazy in this context. And the definite article the is unnecessary for a general category like a sport.
So how would we upgrade that?
We would upgrade it by saying, I'm crazy about basketball.
I'm crazy about basketball. Dropping the makes it an abstract general concept, and about acts as the correct connective tissue.
Spot on.
So we now have a robust toolkit for expressing strong positive feelings. We love things. We enjoy the process of doing things. We are fond of quiet moments, and we are crazy about our passions.
A great list.
But human interaction isn't just about agreeing and liking things. How do we express the exact opposite without violating social norms or sounding abrasive?
This ventures into the territory of pragmatics. Specifically, politeness theory and what linguists refer to as face-threatening acts.
Face-threatening acts. That sounds intense.
Navigating negative preferences is a very delicate art. When someone offers you something or asks your opinion, they're essentially extending a social bridge.
Right.
If you reject the thing too harshly, you risk burning the bridge. We have our baseline, which is I don't like, but we need to look at phrases like not a fan of, not into, hate, and can't stand.
Let's address the most volatile word in that list, hate.
Oh, yes.
In our notes, it's flagged as a major stumbling block, and I hear learners use this word constantly. They will say, I hate waiting, I hate Mondays, I hate broccoli.
It's so common.
Is it a linguistic error to apply hate to these everyday annoyances?
It's not a syntactic error. Grammatically, it's fine, but it is a pragmatic failure.
How so?
Hate carries immense cultural and emotional weight. It implies deep, visceral animosity.
Right.
In natural English, overusing hate for minor inconveniences creates an imbalance in the conversation. It makes the speaker sound aggressive, chronically negative, or just lacking in emotional regulation.
I can see that.
If you say, I hate corruption, or I hate mosquitoes, society generally agrees with that level of intensity.
Yeah.
But if you say, I hate bananas, the emotional intensity doesn't match the subject. It's semantically jarring. Poor bananas.
It's like using a sledgehammer to crack a peanut. The word hate is simply too heavy for the context of fruit.
Exactly.
So, what is our alternative? Imagine a high-stakes social setting. Let's go back to our opening scenario.
The dinner parties.
The dinner party. The host brings out a beautifully prepared dish, but it is incredibly spicy, and you simply cannot tolerate spicy food.
Right.
You can't just say, I hate this. How do you protect your own boundaries while protecting the host's feelings?
You deploy softening chunks. These are linguistic shields. Instead of attacking the object, the food, you frame the limitation around yourself.
Oh, okay.
You say, I'm actually not a fan of spicy food.
Hmm.
Or in a slightly more casual setting, you might say, I'm not really into spicy food.
I'm not a fan of... That is brilliant because it completely removes the judgment. It doesn't say your food is bad. It just says, I lack the specific appreciation for this. It's incredibly polite and diffuses any potential tension immediately.
It really is a lifesaver phrase.
But what if something genuinely bothers you? It's not just a lack of preference, but an act of annoyance, yet hate still feels too melodramatic.
That is the perfect environment for the phrase can't stand.
Can't stand.
Yeah. Like, I can't stand loud noises, or I can't stand sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic.
Oh, I see.
It communicates that the situation physically or mentally frustrates you, but it lacks the dark moral judgment of the word hate.
Understanding the cultural weight of these words is really what prevents awkward social friction.
Navigating those social nuances is exactly what elevates a speaker from intermediate to advanced.
Okay, now let's add another layer of complexity. We have covered pure likes and pure dislikes, looking at them in isolation.
Right.
But life rarely presents us with isolated variables, does it? We are constantly forced to evaluate options.
Always. Coffee or tea, staying in or going out.
Exactly. So let's move into the art of comparison.
Making choices requires a completely different grammatical architecture. The most common tools here are the verb prefer and the modal phrase I'd rather.
And of course, we also have to account for the neutral zone, right? Which is expressed as I don't mind.
Yes, I don't mind is a great one.
Let's break down prefer first. It operates somewhat like a balancing scale. You place coffee on the left scale and tea on the right scale.
Okay, visualize the scales.
You aren't saying you hate coffee. You might actually really enjoy coffee. But when forced to choose, the scale tips slightly toward tea. You say, I prefer tea over coffee.
The structure here is vital. Prefer behaves similarly to like, in that it is followed by nouns or gerunds, those aging verbs we discussed earlier.
So give us an example.
You say, I prefer staying home, or I prefer the summer.
Got it.
But the phrase I'd rather, which is the contraction of I would rather, operates on entirely different historical rules.
This one trips up a lot of people.
It does. It is followed exclusively by the base verb without the word to. I'd rather stay home.
Let me push back on that because the word would often signals a conditional or hypothetical situation. Is that why it takes the base verb?
Exactly right. Would rather is historically tied to the subjunctive mood in English. It isn't just stating a current fact. It is projecting a hypothetical reality that you wish to bring into existence.
Wow, that's a cool way to think about it.
So, I would rather eat now means in the hypothetical scenario where I control the timeline, I choose to eat. Because it functions as a modal auxiliary, similar to can or should, It demands the bare infinitive.
So the golden rule for learners to memorize is the structural divide. You say, I prefer staying, but you say, I'd rather stay. You
Yes.
absolutely cannot cross-contaminate them and say, I'd rather staying.
Cross-contamination is a great way to describe it. Yeah, no, I'd rather staying. It has to be I'd rather stay, I'd rather eat, I'd rather walk.
And having both of these tools gives your spoken English texture and variety, preventing you from sounding repetitive.
Definitely.
Let's do another real-time practice for the listener.
Get ready to speak again.
I am going to present a choice. I want you to answer out loud using the chunk I'd rather plus a base verb. Ready?
Here we go.
Think about your evening tonight. Would you rather cook dinner at home or go out to a restaurant?
Form the sentence and say it out loud right now. I'd rather.
Excellent. Now, what happens if the scales are perfectly balanced? What if both cooking at home and going to a restaurant sound equally appealing or maybe equally unappealing?
Then you step into the neutral zone with the phrase, I don't mind.
I don't mind.
Yeah. If a friend asks, do you want to sit inside or outside on the patio? And both options are totally acceptable to you, you simply reply, I don't mind.
It signals psychological flexibility. It tells the other person that you are easygoing and that they are free to make the final decision.
It's incredibly useful for casual plans.
So we have built a formidable vocabulary toolkit. We have the operating system of I like, the high effective intensity of crazy about, the diplomatic shield of not a fan of, and the balancing scales of prefer.
That is a solid foundation.
It is, but knowing the tools is different from operating them perfectly under pressure. Let's open the hood and troubleshoot the engine a bit.
Time for some diagnostics.
Based on the notes, it is time for the diagnostic clinic. This is where we dissect the top 5 most common spoken mistakes learners make when expressing opinions.
This section is crucial because these errors are so persistent. They are fossilized mistakes.
Fossilized. Hard to break.
Exactly. If a listener can consciously identify and eliminate these 5 specific errors, their spoken English will instantly sound significantly more native.
Let's dive right in. Mistake number 1 is a classic syntax error, the placement of the modifier very much.
Oh, this one is everywhere.
A learner will frequently say, I like very much chocolate. Why does this happen?
This happens because many Romance languages allow the adverbial phrase to sit comfortably right next to the verb.
Ah, so it's a direct translation issue.
Exactly. But English syntax has a rigid rule regarding transitive verbs. The verb like and its direct object chocolate are glued together.
They cannot be separated.
You cannot insert a modifier between them. The modifier must be pushed to the absolute end of the clause. Therefore, the correct structure is, I like chocolate very much.
I like chocolate very much, which is grammatically sound, but I'll argue it sounds a tiny bit formal or dated for a casual conversation today.
You think so?
Yeah. I feel like a more modern, natural approach is to shift the modifier to the front and change the vocabulary entirely. Like instead of very much, you just say, I really like chocolate.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I really like achieves the same emphasis, but definitely flows better in modern spoken English.
Let's look at mistake number 2, the infinitive and gerund mix-up. This manifests when someone says, I like cooking.
Right.
Why does this happen?
This is a phenomenon linguists call hypercorrection.
Hypercorrection, meaning trying too hard.
Basically, yes. The learner knows the rule for the infinitive, which is to cook, and they know the rule for the gerund, which is cooking.
Okay.
And in a moment of cognitive panic, their brain tries to apply both rules simultaneously to ensure they aren't making a mistake.
And the result is a syntactic crash.
Exactly. You have to pick one lane and commit to it. You can say, I like to cook, viewing the action as a complete event.
Or you can say, I like cooking, viewing it as an ongoing process.
Right. Both are perfectly acceptable, but I like to cook. Cooking is structurally impossible in English.
Pick a lane, I like to cook, or I like cooking.
Exactly.
Mistake number 3 is a reprise of our earlier discussion on pragmatics, but it is definitely worth reinforcing. Overusing the word hate.
Correct. As we established, hate is a face-threatening act. Using it for minor inconveniences like waiting in line or eating a vegetable disrupts the social harmony.
So reserve hate for extreme moral or physical aversions.
Yes, and for everyday dislikes, lean heavily on the polite shields we talked about. I'm not a fan of, or I'm not into.
That brings us to mistake number 4, which goes back to the imperfective aspect we covered earlier, the enjoy error.
Ah, yes.
We covered the theory, but let's look at the misapplication. A learner might say, I enjoy go shopping.
Because enjoy demands the continuous ing form to satisfy its grammatical requirement for duration, enjoy go is a total failure of verb complementation.
So it must always be.
It must always be, I enjoy going shopping, or I enjoy reading. The mind must link the word enjoy directly to the ing suffix, no exceptions.
And finally, mistake number 5. This is perhaps the most pervasive error of all, the missing object.
This is a big one.
I will ask a learner, do you like this new city? And they will enthusiastically answer, yes, I like.
And to a native ear, that sentence feels like stepping on a stair that isn't there.
Yes, you just fall forward. You expect another word. Why do learners drop the object?
Because they are transferring the rules of a pro-drop language to English. Yeah, in languages like Spanish, Italian, or Japanese, the grammar allows you to drop the pronoun or the object if the context makes it obvious. The sentence still makes perfect sense in those languages.
But English is different.
Very different. English is a strict non-pro-drop language. The verb like is a transitive verb, which we can think of as a hungry verb.
A hungry verb. I like that visual.
It fundamentally requires an object to hold on to in order to complete its meaning. It cannot stand isolated at the end of a thought. You must feed the verb.
So you must feed it by saying, yes, I like it.
Exactly.
But to play devil's advocate for a moment here,
Okay.
if you listen to native speakers in very casual, slang-heavy settings, or perhaps in certain regional dialects, you actually do hear them drop the object occasionally. Someone might casually say, yeah, I like. Are we being too academically rigid here, or is this a necessary safety rule for learners?
That is an excellent point about sociolinguistics.
Mm-hmm.
You will hear rule breaking in highly informal native speech. However, and this is a big however, native speakers break the rule knowing exactly what rule they are breaking, usually to signal extreme casualness or membership in a specific subculture.
Ah, so they're doing it on purpose.
Right. For a language learner, dropping the object doesn't sound like cool slang. It just sounds like a fundamental grammar deficit.
That makes total sense.
Until you have absolute mastery of the cultural nuances, you must feed the verb. You have to say, yes, I like it. Or if you want to use the auxiliary verb to answer the question, you could say, yes, I do.
Yes, I like it. It acts as an anchor. It provides closure and finality to the sentence.
It really does.
So understanding the cognitive theory, the pragmatics, and the grammatical rules is merely the foundational work.
True.
The ultimate test is synthesizing all of these elements in real time. We are going to move into a deep dive role play now, analyzing how these chunks operate in the wild during casual small talk.
This is where we transition from isolated vocabulary memorization to real conversational weaving.
We will tackle 2 universal topics that are absolutely guaranteed to come up at any dinner party or networking event: food and entertainment.
Classic topics.
I will initiate the conversation as an acquaintance trying to build rapport. Notice how I embed the target vocabulary into my questions. Let's begin with food.
Ready?
So, do you like spicy food? I was thinking of ordering Thai for the table.
Oh, I'm actually not a fan of spicy food. I really can't handle the heat. But I love Thai noodles if they are mild. What about you?
I'm absolutely crazy about spicy food. Honestly, the spicier the better, but I have to admit I have a massive sweet tooth. I can't resist a good dessert after a heavy meal.
To each their own. I enjoy a good chocolate cake occasionally, but I'd rather have a black coffee after a meal than a big dessert.
Okay, let's step out of the role play for a second and analyze the pragmatic markers we just deployed. We used a really dense concentration of natural chunks there. Not a fan of, acted as our polite shield against the spicy food. Then you used can't handle the heat, which is a brilliant idiomatic phrase that explains why the preference exists without sounding whiny.
Right.
I used crazy about to show high effective intensity, and then introduced the idiom sweet tooth, which is the native way of saying I experience positive emotions toward sugar.
Much better than saying it that way.
Definitely. But the most powerful phrase you used was to each their own.
Oh, to each their own is a conversational master key.
A master key. Tell me more.
It is a philosophical idiom that basically means everyone has their own unique preferences and that diversity is perfectly acceptable.
I love that.
It is the ultimate tool for validating someone else's opinion while maintaining your right to completely disagree. It prevents the conversation from turning into a debate about who is right.
It just smooths everything over. Okay, let's run a second scenario, shifting the topic to entertainment and media.
Let's do it.
Have you seen any good movies lately? I'm trying to find something to watch this weekend to decompress.
Well, I'm really fond of dry comedies, so I just watched a great stand-up special. I'm not into horror movies at all, though. They just stress me out. Do you prefer funny movies or scary ones?
I definitely prefer horror movies over comedies, honestly.
Yeah.
But lately, I've just been listening to music. I really enjoy listening to classic rock when I'm unwinding.
All right, now let's perform a language upgrade on the meta conversation itself.
Okay.
Suppose you are a learner reflecting on this exact discussion we are having right now. A baseline learner might try to express their appreciation by saying, I like this topic.
Which is true, but it's syntactically barren, right? It doesn't invite any further dialogue.
Exactly. So let's upgrade it by adding causality.
Adding causality. Okay.
You could say, I really like this topic because it makes daily social decisions much clearer. The addition of because transforms a simple statement into a real insight.
That's a huge upgrade. But what happens if the learner is totally overwhelmed? What if the cognitive load is just too high? A defeated learner might just say, I cannot speak about my likes. It is too hard.
And that phrasing completely strips the learner of their agency. It sounds like a surrender.
How do we upgrade that sentiment so the learner advocates for themselves proactively?
You utilize a chunk designed specifically for language negotiation. You say, I understand the concept, but I need simpler English and more speaking practice to explain it clearly.
Wow, I understand the concept, but I need simpler English. That is profound.
It is because it separates intellectual intelligence from language proficiency.
Right, it tells the native speaker, hey, I am smart enough to grasp the idea. I just lack the specific linguistic tool right now.
And it commands respect.
It absolutely commands respect. But knowing the right words and even knowing how to advocate for yourself still leaves one final barrier, doesn't it?
It does. The physical mechanics of speech.
Yeah, we need to talk about phonetics, rhythm, and how to actually get your vocal cords to cooperate with all these new chunks.
Because moving from theoretical knowledge to physical fluency requires understanding how spoken English actually sounds, which is often vastly different from how it is written on a page.
Very different.
In the realm of pronunciation, your objective should never be perfect native accent mimicry. Your objective is clarity and rhythmic flow.
Clarity over perfection.
Yes. The secret to sounding natural lies in a phonetic process called catenation, or connected speech.
Connected speech. Let's dissect the phrase fond of.
Okay.
If you read it exactly as it is written, treating each word as an isolated island, you articulate it as fond of. You create a glottal stop between the D and the O. It sounds kind of robotic.
It does, but in natural spoken English, because the first word ends in a consonant sound, the D, and the second word begins with a vowel sound, the O, the boundary between the words dissolves entirely.
So what happens to the sound?
The consonant physically detaches from the first word and attaches to the beginning of the second word. It becomes fond of, fond of.
Fond of. Try articulating that out loud right now. I'm fond of music.
I'm fond of music. The rhythm changes entirely. It flows like a single multisyllabic word.
We see the exact same phonetic blending with not into.
Oh, definitely.
It is rarely pronounced as three distinct beats. Not into. The unvoiced T in not sits between two vowels, so in North American English, it softens into what we call an alveolar tap.
Right, which sounds almost like a quick D.
Exactly. It becomes nadinto. I'm not into sports.
Not dinto, exactly. This rhythm cannot be learned by reading a textbook. It is a matter of physical muscle memory. Your tongue and jaw literally need to practice the sequence of movements until it becomes automatic.
Which leads us to the practical application of this deep dive.
My favorite part.
We have designed a highly specific, step-by-step, 7-day speaking challenge for you. We want you to take the cognitive theories and grammatical structures we've discussed today and convert them into actual physical fluency.
Because confidence is not a prerequisite for speaking. Confidence is a byproduct of speaking.
That is so true. Here is your protocol. Day 1 is purely receptive. You are going to listen to a section of this deep dive again, but without trying to memorize anything. Just absorb the rhythm, the intonation, and those connected speech patterns we just talked about.
Day 2 is analytical. You replay that same section, but now you actively hunt for vocabulary. You write down 8 specific chunks that resonate with your actual life.
So write down, I'm not a fan of, I'd rather sweet tooth or fond of.
Right. Day 3 shifts into physical motor skills. You are going to practice a technique called shadowing. You play the audio, and you attempt to speak out loud at the exact same millisecond the host or I'm speaking.
You mimic the pitch, the speed, and the catenation. You basically force your mouth to match the native rhythm.
Day 4 is free production. Put the notes away entirely. Set a timer on your phone for 2 uninterrupted minutes and speak out loud to an empty room about your own preferences.
Talk about the food you love, the chores you can't stand, and the hobbies you are crazy about.
Day 5 introduces self-monitoring. You are going to record your own voice performing that same 2-minute unscripted talk. Listen back to the audio.
This is uncomfortable, I know. But it is where the most growth happens. Notice your cognitive roadblocks. Do you hesitate before the word enjoy because your brain is searching for the ing verb? Identify where your system is crashing.
Day 6 focuses on simplification strategy. Take the exact same topic, but deliberately retell it using less complex vocabulary. If you stumbled trying to construct a massive, sophisticated sentence on day 5, ask yourself, how can I express the same core truth using our basic operating system chunks?
Remember our earlier upgrade. Instead of saying, I experience negative emotions, just say, I don't like waking up early.
And finally, day 7 is real-world interaction. You take everything you've built and hold a mini conversation. Do this with a language exchange partner, a tutor, or, if you are alone, role-play both sides of a dinner party conversation in the mirror. Deploy the chunks in a dynamic setting.
If you follow the 7-day cognitive protocol, you are fundamentally rewiring how your brain accesses English.
I guarantee that the next time someone asks you about your musical preferences, your working memory will not crash. The chunks will be queued up and ready to deploy.
We have covered an immense amount of linguistic and psychological ground today. Let's synthesize the core insights from our sources.
To summarize, stop trying to memorize individual words and grammar equations. Your brain needs pre-built language chunks to function under social pressure.
Use a variety of expressions.
Right. Utilize a spectrum of expressions to paint an accurate psychological map of yourself, ranging from the high energy of crazy about to the diplomatic boundaries of not a fan of and can't stand.
And respect the rigid mechanics of the language, like the rules we went over.
Yes. Enjoy requires an ing verb to indicate continuous duration, and transitive verbs like are hungry and must be fed an object.
Ultimately, sharing your preferences is not a language test. It is the fundamental mechanism of human connection.
That's the most important takeaway.
If we wanted to distill this entire deep dive down to a single directive, it would simply be, keep speaking. The more you vocalize these chunks, the more ownership you take over them. We will leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought drawn from the psycholinguistic research. There is a concept related to the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, which suggests that the language you speak actively shapes your cognition.
It's fascinating.
Studies show that when adults learn to express their boundaries and preferences confidently in a second language, they aren't just translating their existing personality.
No, they're actually building something new.
Because you are consciously choosing how to present your likes and dislikes using new cultural tools, you are actually constructing a slightly new, often more direct version of yourself.
That's incredible to think about.
When you practice saying, I'm not a fan of this, or I'd rather do that, you are building your English self. Think about who that English self is becoming this week.
That's a great thought to leave on.
If you found this exploration valuable and you want to continue mastering the mechanics and psychology of spoken English, please subscribe to English on Mic and leave a like.
Yes, we rely on your support to keep dissecting these topics.
Keep practicing, keep building that new version of yourself, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.